All right, hello everybody. I'm Saria.
Hey, I'm Lando, and welcome to Luigi's Mansion. All doors unlocked, no out of bounds. So, just a little preface before we start the run. All doors unlocked is a really interesting category. So, unlike. Oh, hold on one second here. Sorry. Okay. So unlike normal, LM is a very linear game, but All Doors Unlocked kind of takes that to the next level and gives us a lot of routing options. So this is going to be very different from anything you've seen before. So with that out of the way, let's get ready to start the countdown. So 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, so you're gonna immediately see starting off. He's not gonna be going to the uh, to area one. He's gonna be going to the ballroom, which is very conveniently a 10-second time loss, like to RNG right off the bat. So when you're grinding attempts, you can only it's only about 40 seconds of the run before you get there. Whereas in normal, it's like 9 minutes, a little bit less than 9 minutes. So it's pretty nice to have that early on, and he got smashed by the guys, but he should still be able to get the 6 piece here.
Yeah, that was overall not horrible.
Yeah, he got the 6 piece, that's really what's most important. So yeah, this is the 10-second time loss. If you wait for these guys to show their heart, they can randomly show it 10 seconds early or not, and if you don't get it, you lose 10 seconds. If you do get it, which he did not get it, they will go to the right side of the platform and then you can get them there. And he's going to try to get cut his skip by leaving the room immediately. And it skips a little chest spawn, but it's pretty hard.
We actually got a pretty good pattern there.
Yeah, that's pretty lucky. So now he's going to be doing this room. This is similar to no OoB, not a bounds. He's going to be just doing this room like normal. Not much of a difference here. Just fast. So normally in no out of bounds, after releasing the booze, you go get booze from the area 1 rooms and then these 2 rooms. But instead, because we have almost the entire game open to us, we're gonna instead go and get Bogmire, because Bogmire's key spawns the area 3 booze and the area 2 booze. Because right now, if we try to get booze, the only ones we can get are the area 1 booze. So by getting Bogmire's key, we can get basically every boo that's not in area 4. And we need 20 boos to go to the Lost and then 40 boos to beat the game. We actually could walk all the way down the King Boo's area. If we had enough boos, we could just go kill King Boo right now, but we don't. And we need Boolossus to get enough boos, because in this game, you need 40 boos to get to King Boo, and there's only 35 not from Boolossus. So we have to defeat Boolossus, which means we have to get 20 boos. So we have to get 20 boos before Boolossus, and that's why we get Bogmire's key to be able to spawn the boos.
So one interesting thing about this route is without doing Chauncey, there's actually exactly enough booze possible in the game to actually go to Colossus to do him. So an interesting thing is we're going to be doing some optional portrait ghosts that you wouldn't normally see in an any percent run. But because we need those boos to fight the bosses, we're just going to end up doing them, and it's pretty fast in general.
Yeah.
So we're just getting fire right now because we needed to get water, which is where we're going next.
Yeah. You could... I haven't tested it, but I think you could get fire at the very start of the run and have it be around the same amount of time, but delaying the RNG time loss is not a really good idea.
Yeah.
So, most people just opt to get fire after.
You could also get fire if you want to do the ballroom Shy Guys with fire, which is a pretty interesting strat, but I don't prefer to do that.
Yeah, so that's basically how that is. This room's pretty easy, so there's no harm in delaying it.
So we want to not get our first boo. Well, we couldn't get this boo anyways, but we want our first boo to be in Parlor because we can tech skip the first boo text box, which is longer than most.
Yeah, I'll actually talk about why that tech skip is actually a lot more different than in No Out of Bounds for a few reasons later, but for now he's gonna go activate the lug cycle because there's a boo in here, and as I said, we basically, unless we want to have to like get the Clairvoyant boo, which we can't really get without the Mario items, or the twins, which actually don't spawn unless you do Chauncey, Unless we want to have to deal with that, we'll have to get this guy's boo. But it's pretty nice because we can clear all of the kitchen while we're waiting for him to use fire out. And we have to come back later for the boo in here anyway, so it works out pretty nicely in the route.
Yeah. So we're basically just waiting for Lugs to finish his cycle. He has a pretty long sequence of shooting fireballs before he can show his heart.
Yeah, and it continues while you're in the kitchen. I should also mention that the length of this run, just because of the open world of this run, it cuts the length of the game from around 55 minutes to around 35 minutes. So it's an insanely large cut for just one simple cheat code to have all the doors unlocked.
Yeah.
So yeah, now he's hanging out the Bogmire. This part is going to be the exact same as basically every other category that does this part, except for maybe 100% where you get some money.
Yep.
So there's not going to be much different for a little bit until after he re-enters the mansion after Bogmire Key.
I'm gonna try to do a pretty fast double in the graveyard. We'll see if I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, that's alright.
I think the game is a little loud. It might be a good idea to turn it down a little bit.
I thought I would turn it down. I can turn it down a little more if I need to.
Yeah, so now Bogmire, you know, classic one cycle being hard on this guy.
Yeah, so he pulls a lot and his timer is really short. And he's just a really aggressive boss ghost that is hard to suck up for anybody. Okay.
Yeah.
But after this, we're going to do something that is not really done in any other category. We're going to be doing Area 1 at the same time as catching the ghosts, and that leads us to have some really cool interactions.
So yeah, you actually do Area 1 around 8.5 minutes into this run, which is honestly, in my opinion, one of the coolest parts about ADU, because basically, on the main, at least for the vanilla game, the only category that doesn't start off with Area 1 is training room, and that, like, it's just a category where you don't even, like, enter the mansion, so it's, like, kind of not really something you can count. But yeah, every category starts with Area 1 except for ADU. ADU starts with Area 2. So it's really nice that you don't have to deal with Area 1 at the beginning of the game.
Yeah. And one of the really cool things about it is it kind of switches up the typical flow of Area 1 because you have to catch boos at the same time.
Yeah, you have to catch boos, and you also get fire at some point, and you don't do Chauncey. So it's basically, it's honestly, in my opinion, I like Area 1 a lot more in this than vanilla.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah, and this just like we said earlier, this route is just crazy. That's just one of the cool things about ADU is that you can do Area 1 almost any time you want. So if you, like, I think there was a route that you do Area 1 after you do laundry room, hidden room, and butler's room, and it loses, or laundry room and hidden room, and it loses a little bit of time.
Mm-hmm. You can kind of delay sections a lot. The only restriction is the boo requirements for the bosses.
Yeah, that's like what's holding back this from being a lot more open. I mean, if there was no boo requirements for bosses, then this category would be only like 2-3 minutes long because you just walk straight to King Boo.
Yeah.
So yeah. So now we're starting with Area 1. Now in this room, in a normal run, your odds of getting tech skip is about 64%. But in this category, it's almost always, because this boo, you can search for the boo before it switches. And the boo switches pretty much almost as soon as you clear the room. You have like a few seconds to search for objects, which means if the boo starts off with the tablecloth, you can basically guarantee that you'll get tech skip. And if not, you have enough time to search for it before it switches, unless it's in a really bad spot, then it might switch to the tablecloth. But all that happening is so rare that this category, you almost always get tech skip, which is really cool. And as you see here, he's actually setting up. That tablecloth is really annoying to grab, but you can set up a tech skip in between the ghost waves, whereas normally you have to go out of your way to do it.
Okay, well,
And unfortunately, he
definitely.
pulled off the cloth. That can happen sometimes because the room is dark, so it's harder to see it. So yeah, as you can see, the boo might have been in the table anyway. Ooh, where's this boo? That was a really unfortunate spot in the painting.
Yeah, so I think it was in the table, and then it switched to the painting. That's
So
alright.
one optimization that you might see him do in a few places is open a chest despite there not being need to get keys because all the doors are unlocked, and that's because in this game, if you go 2 rooms away and then come back to a room with a closed chest, you have to watch the camera pan to it. So if he opens a chest, where there's a room he's gonna come back later, he does not have to watch that cutscene. And hopefully, or he should do it in the safari room because he visits that room a few times.
Yeah, so the three main places that's relevant is Safari Room is a big one. You can do it in Parlor. I didn't really want to do it this time because I would rather just be closer to the door. And the
Yeah.
other big one is Ballroom. If you don't end up getting the cutscene skip at the door, you can open the chest.
Yeah. The only issue with doing that is that the key is in the way when you're getting the boo, and it can be kind of hard to avoid.
Yeah, it
But
is
if
a
you
little
can't
bit
avoid it,
risky for sure.
it saves you time. So, yeah. You're gonna notice here that he's actually gonna get anti-room boo after wardrobe room, and that's because if you do that, you can actually see if the boo is in the top left of the room or not. And that lets you have to search less objects on average. You could do it after you clear the room and have the radar instantly be accurate, but the issue with that is that then you can't get movement to the door. So it's pretty close to being the same, but it's more preferred to do it later because that way the room is similar to no out of bounds and you don't have to do weird movement with the boo.
Yeah. So right here, Neville is actually significantly different compared to most categories. Because we have fire, we're going to get fire, and then we're going to try to catch him in the top left of the room. Or top right, sorry.
Yeah, so we not only do we get firewall rating for him, but we also suck him up in the top right. Something that you don't do either of those in any other category, except maybe some low percent strategy to not get money. But yeah, so you do top right. That way you can search the objects instantly. Because in the top left, there's no objects that you can search for the boo in. Unfortunately, having bad luck with the pearls here. But the boo wasn't a good spot, so it was okay.
Yep. So right here, we're going to set up the tech skip while the room is still dark. And then we can search for the boo on the right side.
Yeah,
After
so
doing
if you play this game, you'll know that after the 5th boo, EGAD tells you about the washroom that you've unlocked because you have 5 boos. By doing Area 1 first, this is the 5th boo we get, and we'll always tech skip it, so it's pretty nice that the 1st and the 5th boo, which both have the longest text in the game, are able to be skipped with their text. That's one of the reasons why we do Area 1 right after Area 2, is for that reason. And I guess I should mention something that you might not notice is normally after leaving this room you have to watch a cutscene. Actually, if you mirror warp, you don't have to watch it, but I thought I mentioned that when you leave this room through the door, you'll have to watch a cutscene, but that's triggered by getting the key, which you don't have to get. So if you do leave the room through the door for some reason, in like all portraits or something, you don't have to watch the cutscene if you don't get the key. And that's also true for wardrobe key, which is why he didn't get called by EGAD outside the hallway.
Yep. A lot of the triggers
Oh.
in this game to trigger cutscenes are off of the keys that you grab, not like the rooms that you clear necessarily.
Yeah, so here he's just gonna be getting a bunch of boos from the rooms he already cleared up till now.
Yep, and now we have to watch this again. And you only have to pan back to the chest if you go 2 rooms away from the initial room.
Yeah. That's why he's not gonna have to watch it, even though he's not opened the chest and left the room. It's because he only went 1 room away. There is actually a boo double you can do here, and because the hallway is cleared in this category, there's very little risk to doing it. But it is RNG based, and it's still a little hard, so I guess that's why Lando didn't opt for it.
Yeah, I'm just not super comfortable doing it. But in this category, it's definitely worth for a few reasons. Just because the hallway is lit and the category is a lot shorter.
Yeah, in this category, It's not as optimized. I don't think it's as optimized as No Out of Bounds yet, but because of how much shorter it is, it's like the time saves are more substantial. That boo being not very nice. Oh, that was actually a good position. Could have been left side, and it wasn't.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, he's just cleaning up the boos. After this, he's gonna be doing bag shot, which is very slow usually, but it is still significantly faster than any other boos that you can get.
Yeah. To get any other... To do any other boo route, we basically would have to do Chauncey, which is really slow for a number of reasons. Because we have to watch the cutscene, the boss fight itself is a couple minutes long, and this is just the best way to go about getting 20 boos before boo losses.
Yeah. Like for example, the twins. In order to spawn the twins, you have to get Chauncey, and in order to get Clairvoya, you have to get the Chu from the twins. Not that you want to do Clairvoya anyway, because she loses a lot of time to tech smashing, but if you
Right.
want to, you have to do the twins, which is also locked behind Chauncey. The butler is also locked behind Chauncey, so there's just a lot of restrictions on Chauncey.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we have to do some of these otherwise slow fights because of Chauncey.
That was a really nice bank shot.
Yeah. So those billiards balls will go in a random direction, and if they go towards him, then you can get them pretty fast. But there's also a risk of you hitting them. If you run into one of them, they disappear. Or if you shoot him while he's already been hit, they also disappear. Or they can just randomly break on something. And if any of those happen, you'll have to 2-cycle him, or even worse. So, and each cycle loses a lot of time. So yeah, he actually did bank shot before projection room because of just a very small time saved in movement.
Yeah, basically, if we do projector first, he'll have to restart his cycle of walking around the table. But if we do it right when he enters, then that movement that we start the room with is counted for the cycle initially.
Yeah, because unlike Lugs, his cycle does not continue while you're in this room.
Right.
So
I think Lugs might
it
be the
did,
only
that'd be
ghost
very
that
interesting.
has a cycle that continues in other rooms. Is that right?
Yeah, but he's honestly one of the only ghosts in this game that really have a cycle even like that.
That's true.
Most of the ones you don't have to really wait for, except for the Warlindas. The Warlindas actually have a cycle that continues outside the room. But yeah, just the Warlindas and Lugs really. So now he's gonna go to Melody, just because he needs the boo.
Yeah, unfortunately, Melody is similar to Bank Shot in that she takes her pretty long time to actually do, but again, don't really have that option.
Yeah, due to the just to give this entire category is us collecting boos. The only requirement in this category is boos. In normal No Out of Bounds, you have to kind of run to the mansion to get all the keys and eventually get to Van Gore's key that lets you go to King Boo. But in this category, we're just doing all this for boos. It's basically boo collecting. So that's what No Out of Bounds is. Any percent though, any percent is pretty crazy in this category. You just go straight to Chauncey and then out of bounds, and then you win the game.
Okay, that was pretty bad spread of the sheets, but unfortunately, one thing about this category that is a little bit worse than most is that you have to do this room with water. And the water
That kind of blow.
hitbox, and the water hitbox is a lot worse than fire. So
Yeah,
trying to get the battle sheets with water is pretty difficult.
yeah. Usually, people just use their vacuum instead of bothering with the water, just because of how short range and bad the hitbox is.
Yeah,
If you've tried like hitting the fire ghosts in the sitting room or the washroom with it, it can be really hard sometimes, just because the water just does not hit them at all.
and here we have to do Biff for the same reason.
Yep. You have to get the boo. Any room we're doing, it's just because we need the boo. There's no other reason to do any other room in this game except for King Boo. So
Right.
don't need any keys, don't need any story progression, just the boos. It is pretty nice though how it feels like there's a lot less downtime in this than in No Out of Bounds.
Yeah, you overall watch less cutscenes by exactly one, I think, because you're not watching the Chauncey cutscene, or I mean area cutscenes. But
Like for reference,
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say like for example, the last time there was really a major period of downtime was the Bogmire post cutscene, and that was over 10 minutes ago. He hasn't had really any downtime except for like small animations like the meter warp. So, and he won't have another downtime until probably the Supi cutscene, and even that can be skipped. So, we'll talk about that when we get there. Actually, no, here's a little bit of downtime.
Okay, nice. Got that tech skip.
Yeah, that tech skip there is not the easiest one, but it's also not crazy hard once you get good at it. Which
Yeah.
Lando's definitely put a lot of time into that, I bet.
Oh yeah. T room is the hardest room in the game. Changed my mind.
I would agree with you if we were talking about PAL.
Yeah, okay, yeah, for sure.
Although PAL has some easy strats that you can do here, so I'm not sure. But yeah, so now he's going to go to Safari Rim.
We have to
Actually,
do
the
Nana
Nana
first. But...
Yeah, you do Nana first, but your overall
Oh, I
next
missed?
destination is Safari. And this fight's really annoying because if you miss any of these yarn balls, you have to reload the room. Like, he shot it into the table there barely, and just because of that small mistake, he now has to do the entire fight over again. But yeah, so this is one of the few times where routing an ADU is really hard. It's because we need ice for Safari Room, and we need fire for Astral Hall. It'd be really nice if we could just do Astral Hall, and then do Sitting in Guest Room, and then do Safari Room, but we don't really have anywhere else to grab ice, so we kind of have to do Safari Room after this room, which is pretty inconvenient because you have to walk all the way there and then walk all the way back down. But unfortunately, they did not put ice anywhere else, so we have to live with it.
Yep, and here, the main thing that's different from No Out of Bounds is that we're just going to be opening the chest, but not grabbing the key so that we don't have to watch the cutscene later.
Yeah, aside from that, and I guess leaving the room to the left,
Yeah.
there's nothing much else different in this room. There's a decent amount of rooms where the only difference is where you exit and not grabbing an item in the room, like a Mario item or a key.
Right. Oh, I didn't see that banana.
That's rough. Those bananas can be really annoying. But, there's not much you can do about it. So yeah, here he's gonna spawn the boo. He's gonna kill the boo and then open the chest. That way, later on when he comes back, he won't have to bother with watching that cutscene again. And it only takes a very, very small amount of time to even open the chest, so that's why it's worth it. So now we're going down to the Sitting in Guest Room. You actually can grab fire in the hallway and save a little bit of time, but with the sparks in the way, the game likes to prioritize them over the fire, so it becomes really obnoxious to get it, so he just gets it in here. Now he's going to burn all these ghosts. Get the water. And then... So there is a cutscene skip I mentioned earlier. If you... I'm not actually sure how it works, but my theory is if you leave the room right before those barbed wires come off the door, this cutscene here won't play. I say this because I've never seen this happen in vanilla LM, and I've seen it happen a few times in ADU. So I believe it's an ADU exclusive trick, which means I think it's because you can leave before the room clears. Which means that if you do skip this cutscene, it's just, you know, saves a decent amount of time, but we don't have a setup for it right now, so it's not really worth losing time over it.
Alright, so in these two rooms, you're going to see me attempt a different strat than you would see in any other category. Because in most other categories, the hallway outside is lit, so you can go for a boo double with these two boos. But because of the fact that it's dark, I'm going to try just going for normal tech skips in this room.
Yeah, so let's talk about that a little bit more. Because the hallway is dark, if you lose these boos, they will actually despawn, and you'll have to reload the mansion, which would require saving and quitting. Which, if you haven't saved in a while, you'll have to probably talk to Toad, and that loses an incredible amount of time. So losing these boos into the hallway is probably the biggest time loss that can happen reasonably, and that's a cool tech skip right there. So yeah, you really need to be extra careful not to lose these boos, or else you can lose literally minutes.
Alright, I wasn't able to get the tech skip in this room because he was in the cloth, but that's all good.
Yeah. You had you're I think 2 for 4 on tech skips this run.
Pretty bad, to be honest, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean that one was RNG, so it's not
Yeah.
great. Actually, no, you're 3 for 5 because of T run. So yeah, and now he's gonna go do the Astral Hall. This room is actually relatively slow, but because of the fact that we need the boo, we don't really have an option. There's a lot of rooms that's just really slow, like he said earlier, bank shot, and this room especially are really slow, but we're desperate for boos, so we don't have an option.
And overall, oh, go ahead.
I should mention that there are 2 boos that we're actually skipping that we could get, which is laundry room and hidden room, but they are pretty far out the way, and we'd have to get them later on anyway usually, so it's worth getting them later. Just for routing reasons.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, like, it would seem at first that just doing Chauncey and having access to faster rooms is probably better, but Chauncey by itself is, I think it's literally like 4 or 5 minutes between the actual boss fight and the cutscene, so it really adds up quickly.
Yeah, I think it's like more like 2 or 3, but the issue is all the boos that you could get, the twins is really slow because they have the cutscene, the fan, the doubles, and then the boo itself. Clairvoyant has all the text and the Mario items you need. The Butler has the cycle you need to wait for. Even if you could get Chauncey, all the boos would be really slow to get anyway.
That's true.
So it's just really not really worth it to use Chauncey. Unless you absolutely need them in like all boos, all portraits, 100%, max percent, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, here's Boolossus. Boolossus is the exact same as No Out of Bounds.
That's right. So I'm actually going to do a very, very minor optimization in this fight found by Hopeless. Shout out to Hopeless. It saves like 2 frames, I think. But basically, we're just going to manipulate Boolossus to move a certain way so that we don't have to walk around the statue.
Yeah. And in this category, even 2 frames is, I mean, it's not a lot, but it's still pretty nice to have.
And it's easy enough that we may as well do it, so.
Yeah. This category has a lot of untapped potential because it's just not very popular due to the fact that it's just a ROM hack.
Definitely.
So if anybody is interested in trying this, all the information is at speedrun.com/lmadu. The cheat codes, the routes, all the records and videos and everything you need to play this. So yeah, this is Boolossus. Same as normal, you get the angle, shoot the ice ball, and just like that. He's had a little bit of issue, but he managed to get to 1 cycle, so there you go.
Overall, it was not bad. I think your stream is a little bit delayed, by the way.
Yeah, it's a little bit. So now he is going to go to Hidden Room after he watches this cutscene in the laundry room.
Yeah, so the main reason that we even grab Boolossus' key is because the rest of the boos we're going to grab are in Area 4 area. So cellar, western room, and pipe room. But yeah, we're just going to go to laundry and hidden now because there's not really a better time to do it. And there happens to be a mirror in hidden room, so we can get back to the foyer quickly and easily.
It is kind of unfortunate that we can't get Breaker Boo now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'd be a lot faster than, say, Piper Weston Boo.
Yeah, it would be. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
you need to do the blackout, and that requires you to walk all the way up to the top of the mansion, so that obviously loses a lot of time.
Yeah, there are a few boos, mainly in the attic, and then Breaker Boo that are locked behind the entire blackout sequence, which would require walking all the way up, watching a cutscene, walking all the way back down, and then if you want to get to Attic Boos, walking all the way back up again, which means they are completely out of the option for routing
Right.
this category. Van Gore is the same way. You need to defeat Boo losses to get Van Gore Boo, unless you can one-cycle it, but nobody's done that, so I don't think that's really viable. And then all the Chauncey Boos as well. So that's really why we get the Boos we do, because either it's locked behind Chauncey, it's like Van Gore, or it requires a blackout. And all of those lose literally minutes versus not getting them. And yeah, so
Yeah, it just happens to work out perfectly that getting all this optional ghosts happens to give us like exactly 40 boos pretty much.
If there was one less room that we could get, it'd be pretty bad.
Yeah, we would have to significantly alter the route, and the run would probably take 5 more minutes or so. Maybe not quite that long, but it would be significantly longer.
Yeah, probably like Van Gore Boo or something.
Yeah.
And Van Gore is a pretty long fight. So yeah, now he's doing Hidden Room. You don't have to skin the hole there, but yeah, usually you skin them out until they get a tech skip.
And so
but here you mirror warp out because your next destination is the basement and not the laundry room.
Right.
So he's going to be mirror warping here. Which means Japanese does save a little bit less time in this category, because there's also less text in this category. So in this category, Japanese actually doesn't save that much time compared to English. But it still saves a little bit of time, so he'll play on Japanese anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is basically the final stretch here. He's going to be going down into the cellar. He's going to be doing Weston and then Pipe Room, and then he's going to beat the game. So ending the run on basement stuff is another thing that you'll probably never see in any other category.
That's true.
Because you can't do Cellar or Weston after King Boo without some crazy out of bounds stuff that isn't really worth doing. Even Weston, you can't really avoid doing Weston before King Boo without doing like any percent.
Yeah.
So not really something you'd see. That's an example of what happens when you play this game a lot. You open the chest out of muscle memory, even though it's slower.
Oh yeah. All right, I'm on autopilot mode. Sorry.
Yeah, this room specifically, I think it happens more than any other room. Because after the double, you usually have to really kind of move your way over to the chest, so you think about that instead of, getting the Boo.
Yeah.
So yeah, here's Weston. Normally you do this before going to Van Gore and then the final, but here it's before doing Pipe Room and then King Boo. So, in both No Out of Bounds and in this category, it's the second to last room you do before King Boo. And one cycling this Boo is not too important. If he goes up, it sucks because then you have to chase him back down. It always kind of sucks if this Boo goes up, though, no matter what category you're playing. Ooh, those pearls being not very nice.
I think I handled that pretty well.
Yeah, you did. Alright, and now time for Pipe Rim. He does not have to ice the floor, so he can just go for the triple. And if he misses it, then not that much.
That triple is pretty hard, in my opinion.
Easy. You could take it. You could lose some time and have it be easier, but it's not really that worth it. So here's the last Boo he's gonna get. If this Boo goes right after leaving the room to the right again, it's pretty catastrophic. But if you one cycle him, it doesn't matter.
I don't think this is a one cycle.
Yeah, this happens a lot where he just doesn't switch directions, and because of that, he gets two cycled. But usually if you're going to two cycle him, you want to try to have him leave down.
Yeah. It is pretty rare for him to end up going to Breaker Room, but if that happens, your run is pretty dead.
Yeah, if you're going for a high level PB, you can't really PB if that happens. Especially not in this category. In other categories, you have to go that way anyway, but in this category, you get to go to King Boo. So if that happens, you have to walk all the way to Breaker and then all the way back. So it actually loses a lot more time here than other categories. And Breaker Room's also dark. So
Yeah, it's like even worse than any. It's worse than anywhere else for sure.
it's way, way worse. So here we go to King Boo. This is actually the exact same as No Out of Bounds. So at this point onwards, it's not any different from a No Out of Bounds run. You
Yeah,
just get that cutscene because you don't have Van Gore key.
just because this run is on pace, I'm gonna do just a normal 2-cycle.
Yeah, that's a good idea because he's actually this is on pace to be, I believe, 3rd place
Yeah.
by like a minute. So a PB in the marathon would be pretty cool.
That would be pretty cool. But as we've seen throughout the marathon so far, there's a number of different ways of doing King Boo. Mainly just 2 or 1 cycle, but you can opt to do early shots with 2 cycle. I'm not going to this time just because that adds a risk of me losing a bunch of time for no reason. And then obviously 1 cycle is really impressive and saves a lot of time, but it's really hard to do as well.
Yeah, basically, honestly, except for Chauncey, getting the minimum cycles on every boss in this game is kind of tricky.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say, aside from Chauncey, I wouldn't say any of them. Any of the 1 cycles are really easy. Because even Bogmire, which is I think is probably the easiest, can still be tricky sometimes.
For sure.
King Boo is insanely hard. Even high-level runners don't hit it more than 70% of the time, I'd say. And Bulos can just be RNG with the ice spawn sometimes. So yeah. Normal King Boo fight, nothing different here in ADU.
Yep. That was a good first cycle.
Yeah. 239 is what you want to see. That's pretty good. Especially because on King Boo the 2nd cycle is actually a little easier just because of how the vacuum works.
And time.
Good job. That's a PB,
you.
isn't it?
That is a PB, and 3rd place, 36-34.
Yep. Well, there you go. That's ADU.
Yep, so overall a really fun and interesting category that I feel like has a lot of potential and is underrated.
I agree completely.
So any runners that are looking for something fresh, definitely check ADU out. It's really fun.
Yeah.
And all the categories are really cool too. Like all portraits is really unique and all boos is really unique as well. So there's a lot of potential here.
Yeah, if people really... There's also subcategories for PAL and Normal Mansion, so if that's your thing, you can also play that.
Yep, and one thing that is a little bit different than speedrunning is there's actually a bingo board that we created for All Doors Unlocked, and it's actually really fun because normally bingo for Luigi's Mansion is very linear, and honestly it's very much like the player with the better time is going to win most of the time. But with All Doors Unlocked, I mean, there's a bunch of routing potential because you could go anywhere you want. So it's very unique and very fun.
ADU bingo is basically like if LM had a bingo similar to SMS, where you can do crazy stuff.
Yeah. And there's even an altered version of the code that removes boo requirements. So if you remove boo requirements for bingo, there's a lot of things you could do as well.
You can basically you can go anywhere you want from the get-go. And that just, honestly, that makes the game almost too open.
Yeah,
like routing in that game is so hard because of how open it is.
Right. All right, well, that was ADU. Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
Yeah.
So that's it for us.
Actually, no, I have a run to do now.
All right, that's it for me. Sorry, I was doing LM Remake next up, and that'll be really fun to watch, so stick around for that.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, LM Remake is a lot harder of a game than the original, so...
Yep, and we'll talk about that when we get there, so...
Yeah. Thanks for doing this, because this is, this never happened in this category's ever been played in the marathon before, so...
Yep. It was a blast.
Glad to have some exposure.